That's like so funny. Like they had so much fun.
Ugh, I'm so jealous. I like asked my mentor teacher, I was like, do you need me to go? And she was like, no, she had 11 parents.
So she really didn't. See, we have a few kids that have like some behavior problems and a couple with special needs. So I was with like a parent chaperone and we only had 3 kids.
Yeah. I mean, the weird thing is that like our behavior kids respond to me a lot like better than they respond to her. So I'm like whenever there's like a behavior problem, she has me deal with it. And so I'm like, I don't know why you didn't have me go.
Yeah, instead of putting that on a parent.
Right? I'm like, oh.
What did you get to go to?
Sage International, we both are there doing field work for our 340 class, and the kindergartners had a field trip today.
Where'd they go?
Downtown, right?
They went on like downtown. Yeah, because they've been studying senses and maps. So they had to like follow a map to different businesses. And then at the businesses, there was like different stations set up for like all their different senses. It was really cool.
That's so cute. I'm so upset.
It was so fun.
Adorable. Katie, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I can go first.
Cool.
So this time I got a whiteboard. So we are going to learn how to decompose a fraction into smaller fractions while keeping the denominator the same. The activity that we're about to do is called arts. So I'm going to write on the whiteboard. So we're going to decompose a fraction in 3/4. Are you able to see that? Okay. So I'm going to draw a rectangle. And I'm going to cut it into 4s. Imagine that all of these squares are the same size. And I'm going to shade in 3, which represents the fact that we're working with 3 out of the 4 pieces. So now we want to make an equation that's equivalent to 3/4. If we compare this square to the other squares, it is 1 out of the 4 pieces, which means that we have 1/4. Plus, now this square is twice the size of the smaller square. And as you can see from the rectangle on top, it represents 2/4. And these rectangles together are equivalent to the larger rectangle, which is 3/4. So to decompose a fraction, you just make it into smaller pieces while keeping the denominators the same, and then you can add the numerators together. So 2 + 1 equals. Okay, we're gonna do that again, and this time you guys are gonna help me out with it. So we're gonna do that with So how many pieces should this rectangle be broken up into?
6.
And how many squares should we shade in? Now we're gonna draw 2 smaller rectangles underneath. How many squares do we want represented in the first rectangle? And how many in the second then? So what plus what equals 4, 6?
2, 6.
Plus 6.
Yeah.
What? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
2 6 plus 2 6.
Yeah. Good. So that's called arts. And then the next project we're going to do with decomposing fractions is fraction circles. So I would have had if I had my classroom, I would have had these squares on top of large styrofoam and this triangle is glued on top of it so that people with that have like difficulty with like movement, like I know there's a specific term for it, mobile impairments would be able to maneuver the blocks since they would be made out of styrofoam and would be very large. But I don't have styrofoam, so we're just going to pretend. And for the first fraction circle, they would grab the one labeled 3/4. And this is kind of hard to show, but the triangles, when combined together, make a circle, and 3 out of the 4 of them are shaded. So then we can split the fraction, where we only want to focus on decomposing the 3/4 of the triangle. So we only need to focus on the colored triangles. So I'm going to move this. So how do we want to, and each one represents 1/4. So how do we want to split up the colored triangles?
We do like 1/4 plus 2/4.
Yeah, 1/4 plus 2/4 equals 3/4. And then I would have them use text to speech use dictate to write it down so that they wouldn't have to worry about like using a pencil if that was too difficult for them, and they could just focus on the math. Okay, and that is called fraction circles. And then the third activity that I would demonstrate would be cutting out the rectangles, which I called slice. And so the students that don't feel like doing an activity with scissors, you can do another fraction circle. Go grab the 6/7 fraction circle and use dictate to record the equation that you come up with by decomposing 6/7. But those of you that do feel like doing this fun activity with using scissors and coloring, then you can grab a pair of scissors. And that would be so that like the people with the mobile impairment didn't feel left out if they weren't able to do it. I didn't grab scissors. Okay, so for this rectangle, we're gonna do the 3/4. And so to represent that, we'll cut the rectangle into 4 equivalent squares. How many of the squares should be colored in? Yeah, 3. Now, because we're decomposing the fraction 3/4, we only need to worry about the 3 out of the 4 squares. So we can cut at the last line. Okay, now that you have 3/4, we want to decompose this into 2 equivalent fractions. Where else would you want to cut along the lines?
Will you tilt it?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, there was just a glare on it.
Yeah.
You can cut like at each one.
Okay.
Or you could just cut at one, I guess.
So if I cut each one, and each one is 1/4 of the whole, right? Then what would the equation be?
Be 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 equals 3/4.
Yeah. Okay. So now for the we do, I would, okay. So for the we do, for the next fraction circle activity, it would be 6/7. And so I don't know if you guys like printed out the circles. If you didn't, that's fine. But I would tell you to make a circle out of the triangles, and then you would make the circle. Yeah. And then so now take out the 6 that are colored. And then and then split these color triangles up in as many ways or groups as possible. And for each equation that you come up with, use dictate to record it. And then for the rectangle thing, I would have you come up with your own fraction that you want to do. So what fraction would you want to do, Jade?
I could do 5/6.
Okay, 5/6. And then I would have you split up your rectangle into 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 pieces. And you would color in. And then how many would you color in?
The 5.
Yeah, 5. And then you would cut it out. And then and then where would you want to cut?
I'll just do like 1 and 4. Like cut
Okay.
1 square, 4 available.
All right. And then what equation would that end up being?
It'd be 1. Was it 1/6 plus 4/6?
Yeah. Good job. And then I would have everyone share like what equation they came up with for that. And then all right, and then for the third we do activity, it would be the whiteboard. And we do arts again. What fraction do we want to decompose?
7/8.
How many times do we split up this rectangle?
8.
And how many squares do we want to color in?
7.
And then I would ask a student to come up to the whiteboard and to draw 2 rectangles underneath. And then I would ask another student to say how many squares are in each of the 2 rectangles underneath. So we can do that. How many rectangles would be in this one?
3.
And how many would, and then I'd ask another student how many would be in this rectangle.
4. Right? 3.
Which would be 4 because there's only 7. We can only have 7, and then I'd ask a third student what the equation would be. So what plus what equals 7/8?
That'd be the 3 plus the 4/8.
Yeah. For the independent practice, I would have the students give the students 5 fractions, and then I would tell them that they could decompose them either using slice, which was the this activity, or using the fraction circles for the kids that have the mobile impairment, so that they would be able to maneuver it around, or using the decomposing fractions, the artsy thing that we did on the board. And to assess the kids, I would have them show me their work. Like if they did the fraction circle, I would ask them to explain how they did it to me. Or if they did their rectangle, I would have them show that to me. And I would walk around the classroom assisting when the students needed help. And I would also have each of the students take a turn stating an equation, and then telling me one that is equivalent to that, or stating a fraction, and then having them tell me an equation that is equivalent to that fraction. And yeah.
Awesome. I liked that.
So,
I liked your styrofoam with like the things on it. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. That seems like a really good way to help students that wouldn't be able to use like the super fine motor skills.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, like so many times, like even like in the elementary school that I'm working in, so many times they're cutting things, and like I can't help but think about like the student that like struggles cutting, like they're not going to be able to do that activity, and then that's a barrier to learning simply because they can't cut paper.
We do a lot of cutting in my class too.
Yeah, so I liked that. I like that you like gave them another option, and like you still had like a cutting option for like other kids, but also like made sure that like kids that weren't able to do that had another option, and like weren't just gonna like be sitting there watching.
Yeah, and you didn't like single out like, okay, you can't cut, like do something else. You were like, okay, anybody that doesn't want to cut can do this, so they don't feel like embarrassed that way.
Yeah, I liked that a lot. I thought that was really smart, and I liked the activity where it was you were breaking up the circle into as many equations as you could. Is like the green one with like a lot of pieces. I liked that a lot. I thought that was smart because then like they're seeing it in multiple different ways and like finding it on their own, which I think is super beneficial.
Yeah, I did very well. They already said that already.
Yeah, I liked it. That means it's my turn.
Go for it.
Woohoo. So the gist of my lesson is fairly similar. And like I'm using the same problems I did. So I'm gonna like stuff that I did last time, I'm gonna like just like explain again and not make you guys do it. But so we're gonna start off, and again, this is something I can't do with you guys, so I'm gonna more explain it than I am gonna have you guys do it. But before like introducing the topic, I would have like we've been doing like my hypothetical class has been doing like subtraction problems, so they like know how to subtract, but we haven't like done word problems yet. So I'd ask for 5 volunteers, have them come up, and like do like a skit almost and like act out a problem. So it would be like there are 5 students or 5 kids at a birthday party, and 4 of them or one of them leaves. And so then I'd, have the 5 kids up there, and then I'd have, Becky leave and go sit down. And then, how many kids do we have left? And then we'd like count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 kids left at the party. So then after we like act that out, I would do it again. Do it one more time. We have 5 kids at a party. 1 kid, Becky, leaves. Becky goes and sits down. How many kids do we have left at the party? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then have everyone sit down and then pose the question of, what do you think we're doing here? What do you think, what process, like what mathematical process do you think we're doing here? And then my tables that I would have them in would be differentiated. So they would sit at their little table group, and I would have them talk about it. And then on like those giant sticky notes or like whiteboards or something, I would have them write down what they think we're doing and talking about in like the act out, like a 1 sentence, like I think we're doing addition, or I think we're doing subtraction, like whatever their thought is. Have them write that down, and then have like a brief share out to the class. Like everyone like says their one statement. We kind of discuss, if a table thinks it's like addition or something like that, like I'd probably like, oh, like why did you think that? And get them to kind of talk about it a little bit. And then I would tell them, okay, we're going to be doing take from problems today. And then I would write the problem on the whiteboard and direct them to the problem. And again, this is a problem I did with you guys last time because I didn't change it. So then I would read it twice. Taylor has 5 pens. She gives 3 pens to Jenny. How many pens does Taylor have? Okay, let's read it one more time. Thinking about that we're going to be doing take from word problems today. Taylor has 5 pens. She gives 3 pens to Jenny. How many pens does Taylor have? So then that's when I would whip out my 5 pens. And I would go, okay. And again, these are like my equivalent of like the blocks that I like talk about in my lesson, but I don't have blocks, so I'm using actual pens. So, Taylor has 5 pens. She starts with 5 pens. She gave 2 to Jenny. How many pens? 1, 2, 3. Looks like we have 3 pens left. So then, where's my marker? So then that would be like modeling with the blocks. And then we have another option. So we have 5 total. So we're going to fill in 5 boxes. But she gives 3 pens away, doesn't she? So then we're going to subtract 3 of the things I drew. And this shows us that we have 2 pens left. And then from that's like modeling with like the grids. And then from that, there's another option that we can do to solve these types of problems. And that's just looking at the word problem and picking out the words that we think. And because we know that we're doing subtraction problems, we'll subtract the numbers. So we have 2 numbers here. We have 5. She has 5. She gives 3. So because of that, we're going to end up with the equation 5 minus 3. And because we're amazing students and we know our subtraction problems, we know that that equals 2. So she has 2 pens left. Now we're going to try it as a class. And side note, in all of this, I changed that worksheet that I had before to more of like a graphic organizer. Because I'm a visual learner, and so I would want like visual learners to be able to see the problem as well, like on their own paper. And I have it like attached in our doc, but you guys don't have to have it. But it like has that problem on it with like the grid. And then the second problem that we're gonna do together is on there as well. But so like that's available, like I would hand it out if people wanted it. I'd have it available like on the Google Drive, like the class Google Drive, for them to like access it that way. And then I would read the problem because like I'm really focusing on kids with like specific learning disabilities, ones that like specifically have a hard time reading and ones that need to reading and writing, so the ones that need to like hear and then like process out loud. So that's why like I would read it twice to give them extra time to like hear it, understand it. And then of course I have 3 different models for them to do the problem. So, you know, differentiating and scaffolding based on what level they're at, how like they process the problem, if they're a visual learner, you know, stuff like that. So then I'd transition into the we do section. And then, so we're going to be doing the second problem that's on our graphic organizer, which I will again write on the whiteboard. I'm not going to write it on the whiteboard. But it says, Jack has 7 pennies. After throwing 2 of them into the fountain, how many pennies does Jack have left? We're going to do this as a class now together. So I'm going to read the question. I'm going to read it one more time, and let's think about what numbers we're going to be using and what we're going to be doing. Jack has 7 pennies. After throwing 2 of them into the fountain, how many pennies does Jack have left? So at this point, I would ask for 3 volunteers, which again, I'm not going to make you guys do this all over again. We did it last time. But I would ask for 3 volunteers, and I would have each volunteer do it in the 3 models that I have modeled. And I would be, you know, asking guiding questions during it. So if, you know, someone was doing with the blocks, okay, how many blocks do we have? How many blocks are we going to start with? Oh, we're going to start with 7. Why? Oh, because we had 7 pennies. Okay. What happens next? Oh, he threw 2 of them away. What are you going to do with your blocks now? Oh, you took 2 away. Why did you take 2 away? Oh, because he threw them in the bottom, so they're no longer there. How many blocks do we have left? Oh, we have 5. So that means we have how many pennies? 5 pennies. So then I would do that, you know, with the grids as well. You know, they draw in the 7 grids. Oh, why? Why did you take them away? Go through that process. And then for the student that like picked, like just picking out the numbers, I'd say, okay, why did you do 7 minus 2? Why didn't you do 2 minus 7? Oh, well, what made you see that it was subtraction and not addition? You know, just asking guiding questions for them, but also for like the class to hear. And giving them that, like, the opportunity to, like, to ask the questions out loud in the class as well, so that like all the students can benefit from, you know, if it can benefit if they don't understand it, and also like students that process like verbally out loud can like, you know, have the chance to ask me about it, or they can come up and volunteer. So then we transition into the I do section, and I changed this up as well. So I'm going to go back to their tables, which I have differentiated. And at each of the tables, there's going to be a bowl. And in the bowl, there's going to be like little pieces of paper that have word problems on them, like take from word problems. And they're all going to be differentiated for the table that they're at, but they're all going to have like the same concept of take from problems. So they're all going to be doing the same thing. But the students can pick the 3 that they want to do out of the bowl that's on their table. So they're like, you know, if they don't want to do one that has, like, if a boy doesn't want to do one that talks about dolls, or if a boy wants to do one that talks about dolls, then they have the option to pick the ones that they want to do. So that kind of gives them some like ownership. They're more excited about it. It's not just like the ones that I assigned them. So they're going to have these 3 pieces of paper, and they can either use the graphic organizer I gave them and like paste them next to the 3 grids that I gave them, or if they don't want to use grids, then they can paste them on their own paper. They can write them on their own paper. And I'm giving kids the option to like take pictures of their work or videotape them working with our like classroom devices. So they would have the option to like take a picture of it and like attach it to the Google Doc of like their work, or like, you know, just like show it in the video when they're videotaping themselves. But so, you know, they're going to pick their own 3 problems, work them out in whatever they want, upload them or turn it in whatever the way they want. But, you know, I'll be circling the classroom, asking guiding questions, answering questions, clarifying concepts. Yeah, and we do that as needed. And like students that, again, like have difficulty reading, you know, they would have the option for me to read all the problems to them, or even partner with a buddy. Like, say there was a kid at a table that was at more of an advanced level, say he or she was done earlier, then I would be like, oh, hey, Steven, can you come read these problems to Jessica? You know, and have them buddy up almost, because kids that are at the higher level are going to not do the blocks and they're going to not do the grids. They're going to pick the numbers out of the equation and they're going to be done really fast. And I don't want kids to just be sitting there doing nothing. So then, you know, I would grab those kids, bring them into the other groups, have them, you know, work, just keep working, keep chatting, doing, you know, be collaborative. So I'd have them do that. But, you know, if they need me to read to them, they can. If they want to like process out loud with me, but they're also like, because they're at the tables, I would like encourage them to process out loud and maybe have one of their group members read to them versus me, just to give them the chance to like collaborate with like same age peers. I think that's important. But then after that, oh, and if they like to need to verbally process, that's when they can like videotape themselves. Because if they like explain themselves while they're working or something like that, and like they like that better, like they can videotape themselves and like upload it to me, which is totally cool. So then I would do like the exit ticket style as well. But first I would like have them like share out at their tables. You know, each table would, all the kids, you know, raise your hand, share out if you want, of like which model they liked better, which ones they found were more difficult, any confusions that they had, stuff like that. And then I would write a problem on the board, read it out loud twice, and then again give them the option of any of the mediums that they wanted to use. They could do the video, the pictures, the writing, whatever. Like they have the option to solve the problem however they want and represent themselves however they want, and then either turn it into me, upload it to the doc. If they wanted to meet with me instead, just write on a piece of paper that I want to meet with you instead, and we'd find time to do that. And then, you know, that lets me know if they understood it or not, because obviously, like, this is the first time I'm introducing word problems. Like, they know subtraction, but they don't know word problems. So I wouldn't, like, expect everyone to understand it at this point. So it would definitely be, like, a quick formative assessment of just, like, okay, like, what did they understand? What didn't they understand? And also having them share out and have, like, a little mini baby discussion about it. Yeah, that's it.
I really like how you in the beginning like had them discover it with like implicit instruction, because I feel like that's so much more engaging for them. And then like once they discover it and they're not for the rest of the lesson, like, how do I know this is subtraction? What am I doing with these numbers? Like they're gonna know because they figured it out themselves.
Yeah, I like how, like what she said, like how you just like did a lot of review before, because fraction lessons or fraction sentences are very hard, and at that age for sure. I mean, you're gonna lose attention span quickly if you just dive in, and so I like how you have different aspects of how to engage children in that before going into the working environment. So I like that.
I
Yeah.
really liked how you had the video software, because I feel like, at least in my schools, we didn't really use technology that much. And so I think it's something that'll make it more engaging with the math.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I had never seen the idea of using like a bowl and having students choose questions. I feel like that's such an easy way to get them more engaged. Like it's so simple, but it's like genius for them because they feel like they have control over it. They're more motivated.
Yeah.
You might even get like competitive with their like table mates and be like, oh, like I got this one or whatever, you know? So kids would really like it.
I
Yeah.
also like how you compared to like what you said, like kids that go faster that would just go straight to the sentences and be done. I like because it takes them, I think, at this younger age, how to accept differences in that, like what we talked about way back, and have them understand, and then they feel proud in themselves, like, oh, I'm like a teacher, because I know when I, teach with little kids now, sometimes when they even said it to me, like, Shh, Miss Jade, I'm teaching right now. I'm like, okay, honey, sorry, but right now it's my turn. But I mean, they tell me they want to be teachers, so
Yeah.
I'm like, it's nice that you have them paired up with somebody that needs a little more help, or just someone there. So
Yeah. Thanks. We talked about that in well, at least the people that I was talking with in my 340 class today, we were talking about that on like, you don't think about the when you're differentiating and when like you have such a diverse level of kids in your class, like those higher level kids are going to be done, and the last thing that you want is for kids to have downtime. Like downtime in the fact that they're just like awkwardly sitting there. Like they need to be doing something. They need to have something to do. And like how like you obviously don't want to rush your kids that are slow, like that are like processing at like a slower rate, but like you also don't want to like, like how do you like balance that?
Well, you did very well. Yeah, that definitely, and that reminded me even in my class too. So
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was awesome.
I thought of that bowl idea. I like couldn't sleep last night. And so I'm like laying in the bed at like 12:30, and I was like, because it like was bugging me because Shannon had like mentioned like trying to do something other than like a worksheet. And I was like literally thinking about it for like weeks of like, what else do I do other than a goddamn worksheet? Like I have no idea. And I'm like laying in bed last night, like pissed off because I can't sleep. And I was like, strips of paper and bowls. Oh my God. And I like whipped out my phone and I'm like typing it in my notes on my phone because I'm like, I can't fall asleep and forget this. I was like, this is gonna be the rest of my life. This is my life. Cool. Do we have to upload the link to the video to the midterm thing?
Yeah, so I can copy and paste it and I'll just send it in the group chat and then you can copy and paste it to your lesson plan and then that's how you submit it this week.
Perfect. That'd be great. Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
you guys did good. Woo.
Thanks,
That was awesome.
guys. Okay, I'll see you next week.
Have a good week.
See ya.
Bye.